The chandeliers above the grand hall sparkled like stars, but for me, the night had already turned into a black hole. I stood frozen, breath shallow, heart pounding in my ears louder than the applause that thundered around us. Ilara's eyes glimmered like polished glass, reflecting the golden lights. Olden. She smiled at Damien, her voice dripping with sweetness sharp enough to cut me open. Damien, I choose you, the words echoed, heavy, final. My lungs burned. I forced my lips into a smile, as though I were an actor on stage reciting a line. I never rehearsed. Of course, I managed, though my throat threatened to collapse on itself. Around us, the crowd clapped, some whispering not so softly. He was only her shadow. Did he really think he had a chance? Pathetic. The humiliation pressed into my skin like hot iron. Still, I stood there, as though pretending it didn't hurt would make it real. Damien smirked at me, the kind of grin that stripped away every ounce of dignity I had left. He laced his fingers with Ilara's, his posture declaring victory. She leaned into him without a second thought, already forgetting the boy who once stood by her side through everything. I stepped back. The hall spun. My chest felt too tight, for breath. Outside, the cold air slapped me awake. My hands trembled as I gripped the railing. Mara, I whispered, barely able to form words. She appeared beside me, her expression calm, but her eyes heavy with unspoken truths. Mara had always been like that, steady, quiet, the voice I never wanted to hear because it was always right. You knew, she said. You just didn't want to admit it. I gave her everything, I said, voice cracking. My time, my loyalty, my trust. And she just throws me away like trash. Then stop giving, Mara replied simply, her tone sharp as a blade, cutting through my denial. I laughed bitterly. Stop giving. Easier said than done. The sound of my own heels striking the marble steps as I walked away was deafening. Each click echoed like a countdown, a reminder that something inside me had shattered beyond repair. And in that moment, as whispers and laughter trailed me like shadows, I swore to myself I'd never beg for her attention again, but swearing and doing were different things. School became hell. Every hallway turned into a battlefield, every whisper a bullet tearing into me. He thought she'd choose him, Theo sneered, his voice carrying across the corridor. Hilarious. Laughter erupted. My jaw tightened, but I kept my eyes on the floor. Later, Mara found me. She used you, she said quietly, almost like she was tired of repeating it. I thought she liked me, I whispered. The words sounded pathetic even to my own ears. She didn't. She liked having you. There's a difference. I wanted to argue, to defend Ilara, but deep down, I knew Mara was right. Still, I couldn't stop. I checked my phone obsessively, waiting for her messages, and then one came. Don't sulk. I'll explain later. My fingers hovered over the screen, trembling. I wanted to reply, to ask why, to beg for clarity, but Mara's hand covered mine. Don't. Her voice was firm, but my resolve wasn't. The cafeteria became a theatre of cruelty. Hey, Shadow Boy, Theo shouted, his grin wide, cruel. Still waiting for her call? Laughter again, too loud, too sharp. I clenched my fists, and then I laughed too. The sound was hollow, a mockery of itself. I was the fool in their story, and maybe Mara was right. Maybe I was destroying myself. But still, when Ilara's texts came, I answered. Can you grab that book for me? Sure. Help me with this assignment? Yeah, of course. Each reply chained me tighter. Mara's frustration grew. You know she's just using you. I know. But you still do it. I just can't say no, I whispered. Every favor I did, every moment I gave, she leaned further into Damien's arms, and I hated myself for it. One night, she asked, almost casually, why don't you date anyone? The truth clawed at my throat. Because it's you. But I swallowed it down, smiled weakly. I guess I'm picky. Mara slammed her notebook shut. You're killing yourself for her. Her anger shook me more than Alara's cruelty ever did. Days blurred together until one moment cut sharper than the rest. I found them in the courtyard, Alara and Damien, laughing, fingers intertwined. His smirk taunted me across the space like a weapon. She saw me. She waved. My chest tightened. My feet froze. She waved, I whispered, almost childishly. She used you, Mara snapped, her voice trembling now. You're not her choice. You're her convenience. Convenience. The word struck harder than any insult. That night, my room became a prison. I stared at my reflection, eyes hollow, lips trembling. The boy I saw wasn't the one I remembered. Why love someone who only wants your silence? I whispered. For the first time, I hated the answer. And then I found it. A note written in Alara's delicate handwriting. It wasn't for me. It was for Damien. I only kept him close because I couldn't face you alone. He's convenient. But you're the one I want. Convenient. Again. My hands shook, my vision blurred. But instead of breaking, I felt something different. Something sharp. Something dangerous. For the first time in months, I didn't feel weak. I felt powerful. No more shadows, I whispered. The next time Alara saw me, I was different. I was calm, silent, dangerous. Her smile faltered when she saw the note in my hand. You were supposed to be my friend, she whispered. And you were supposed to see me, I replied, voice soft but steady. She reached for my arm. I stepped back. Mara was beside me, hand firm on mine. That night, I said, I swore I'd never be your shadow again. From that day, I changed. I studied harder. I joined clubs. I networked. People began to see me, not as Alara's accessory, but as myself. Damien sneered, but his words bounced off me like rain. Alara faltered. Her grades slipped. Her laughter dimmed. Her eyes followed me in ways they never had before. She was losing her convenience, and with it, she was losing herself. Rumors spread like wildfire. Damien cheated. One afternoon, I saw her standing in the courtyard. The same courtyard where she once flaunted her love. Tears streamed down her face as Damien walked away. Her eyes locked onto mine, desperate, pleading. Please, she whispered. My name trembled on her lips. I almost stepped forward. Almost. But Mara's hand stopped me. She chose this. Her voice was steady, but I could feel her heartbeat in the grip of her hand. Alara called my name again, louder this time, but I didn't move. The boy who had once waited endlessly, who had loved silently, who had been her shadow, he was gone. I was silence now, and silence was louder than anything I could ever say. Weeks later, the news broke. Business rising star. To wed. My name was bold across the page. Alara saw it. I knew she did, and I knew what she thought. That I had been jealous, sulking, waiting to crawl back. But I hadn't. I had walked away. And now, at my wedding, she would finally realize the truth. I was never her shadow. I was someone's future, and I was alive. The nights after that, gala became endless corridors of silence. Sleep evaded me. I would close my eyes, but instead of rest, all I saw was her smile, shining, cruel, careless, as she clung to Damien's arm. Sometimes I'd dream I shouted the truth in front of everyone, that I tore away her mask, showed the world how she dangled me like a puppet. In the dream, people listened. In reality, no one cared. The world kept moving, and I was left standing still. Mara didn't let me drown quietly. She would come over, sit on the edge of my bed with a cup of tea in her hands. "Drink," she'd command, like she was my personal soldier. "I'm fine," I lied. "You look like a ghost," she said, pushing the cup closer. "Fine doesn't look like that." Her voice carried no pity, only frustration. And maybe that's what I needed. Someone who refused to let me wallow, even when all I wanted was to sink deeper into the quicksand of heartbreak. One night, I broke. "Why do you care so much?" She blinked at me, stunned. "Because you're my friend." "Friend," I repeated, the word sour in my mouth. "She said that too." Mara's eyes hardened. "Don't you dare compare me to her. She used friend as a leash. I use it as a promise." Something in me cracked then, not in pain, but in recognition. Mara wasn't Alara. She wasn't pretending. She was real. School didn't get easier. Everywhere I went, whispers followed. "That's him, right? The one who thought Alara liked him?" Can you imagine? So embarrassing. Damien, of course, fueled it. He strutted down hallways like a king. His friends laughed at every cruel joke, his arrogance unchecked. And Alara? She stayed quiet. Sometimes she defended me in her way, smiling at me in passing, asking me for small favors, waving across the courtyard. But her silence in public was louder than any kindness in private. She let the world laugh at me. And maybe that hurt more than anything else. The note I found was a turning point, but change didn't happen overnight. Rage burned, yes, but it mixed with years of habit, of devotion. Walking away wasn't a straight line. It was a stumble, a fight with myself every single day, Mara noticed. "You're still checking your phone," she said one afternoon. I shoved it into my pocket, guilty. "It's just a reflex." She shook her head. "No, it's an addiction. You think one message will fix everything, but every message is another chain." Her words haunted me. Addiction. Chains. She wasn't wrong. So I started small. Ignored one text. Left one favor unanswered. Each time felt like tearing off a piece of skin, but also like breathing fresh air for the first time. Meanwhile, Damien's mask began to slip. I overheard him one day, bragging to his friends. "She's so easy, always clinging, always needing. I let her think she's special. It's hilarious." The words made my blood boil. Not because I still loved her, but because she had thrown me away for this. Alara, the girl who claimed to be strong, independent, untouchable, had shackled herself to someone who saw her as nothing more than entertainment. It wasn't love, it was control. And suddenly, I pitied her. But pity didn't erase the scars she left on me. Nights turned into months. Slowly, I rebuilt. I joined debate club. At first, my voice trembled, my arguments shallow. But with every session, confidence sharpened. I applied for internships. Rejections piled up, but each one pushed me harder. Mara was always there, sometimes cheering, sometimes scolding, but always steady. "You're not invisible," she said once, after I'd won my first debate. "You just kept standing in her shadow. Step out, and the world sees you." For the first time, I believed her. Alara began to notice. Her smiles faded. Her laughter, once loud, grew brittle. Damien stopped showing up as often. Rumors trickled. Arguments. Lies. Cheating. And her eyes. They followed me. Always. One day, she stopped me in the hallway. "You've changed," she whispered. I looked at her. Really looked. She seemed smaller somehow. Fragile. "I just stopped waiting," I said. Her lips parted, but no words came. Mara appeared at my side, and Alara's gaze flickered between us, unsettled. For once, I didn't flinch. The unraveling of Damien and Alara was a slow-motion disaster. First came the fights. Shouts echoing in the courtyard, her tears staining the very place where she once laughed in my face. Then came the rumors, cheating, lies, betrayals, and finally, The break. Damien walked away smirking, leaving her shattered in front of everyone. Her eyes sought mine. Desperate. Pleading. Please, she whispered, voice breaking. I stood still. Mara's hand gripped my arm, grounding me. She chose this, Mara said firmly, and I knew she was right. Alara called my name, louder now, almost a scream, but I didn't move. The boy who once would have run to her, who would have given everything, was gone. Silence was my answer. Weeks passed, the headlines hit like thunder. Rising business star to wed. My name bold, unshakable. The whispers changed. That's him? The one who… No, not anymore. He's different, successful, untouchable. Alara saw it. I knew she did. And with every glance, every falter in her step, I saw regret consume her. She had thought I was jealous, that I would wait, sulk, crawl back when she clicked her fingers. But she was wrong. I had walked away, and my wedding would be the moment she realized the truth. I was never her shadow. I was someone's future. And for the first time in my life, I was alive. School was hell. Every glance, every whisper cut me. He thought she'd choose him. Theo sneered across the hall. Hilarious. I ignored him, forcing my eyes to the floor. My chest burned anyway. She used you, Mara said, later, voice low. Can't you see? I thought she liked me, I muttered. Mara shook her head. You're bleeding for someone who never cared. It's pathetic. The worst part? I couldn't stop checking my phone. Alara had texted, Don't sulk, I'll explain later. My fingers hovered, then trembled. I wanted to reply, to explain, to beg, but Mara grabbed my hand. Don't, she whispered. I didn't listen entirely. Almost. Then, Theo laughed at the cafeteria, loud enough for me to hear. Hey, Shadow Boy! Still waiting for her call? I clenched my fists. I laughed too, the sound hollow. I was the fool in everyone's story, the one who cared too much. And maybe Mara was right. Maybe I was destroying myself. Alara didn't stop. Not then, not ever. Can you pick up this book for me? Her text blinked. Sure, I replied instantly. Mara groaned beside me. You know she's just pulling you along, right? I know, I said, but you still do it. I just can't say no, I whispered. Every favor, every moment I spent, she leaned back into Damien's arms, smiling like nothing happened. One night, she asked me quietly, why don't you date anyone? The words almost spilled from me. Because it's you. Instead, I laughed. I guess I'm picky. Mara slammed her notebook shut. You're killing yourself for her. I know, I muttered, phone still in hand, Alara's name glowing like a curse. My silence gave her freedom. My silence became my cage. I saw them from across the courtyard, hand in hand, laughing. Damien's smirk screamed, I won. Alara saw me. She waved. I froze. My chest tightened. Mara grabbed my arm. She used you. Can't you see? She waved, I whispered. Yes, she used you, Mara said, voice trembling. You're not her choice. You're her convenience. My throat closed. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. Instead, I just watched, heart sinking. Every laugh, every glance stabbed me. She doesn't even care, Mara said, pulling me aside. I thought she… You thought wrong, Mara said firmly. I wanted to argue, but the truth lodged in my chest like a stone. I wasn't her choice. I was her shadow, a convenience until the light arrived. I walked away, trying to remember who I was before I ever loved her. My room became my prison, nights sleepless, mornings numb. Every laugh I heard felt like knives. Hey, you okay? Mara asked softly. I shrugged, bitter. I don't exist to her. You exist to yourself, she said, but I couldn't hear her. I stared into the mirror. The boy who believed kindness mattered burned away. In his place was someone colder. Why save anyone who never sees you? I whispered. Why love someone who only wants your silence? The words echoed. I avoided everyone, even Mara sometimes. The world had become a blur of grey, and I was just drifting, numb and hollow, haunted by the girl who never chose me. I found it by accident. A note, left for Damien. My hand shook as I picked it up. I only kept him close because I couldn't face you alone. He's convenient, but you're the one I want. Convenient. That was all I was. Rage coiled in my chest. My vision blurred. I wanted to rip something apart. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I folded the note carefully, fingers trembling. For the first time, I didn't feel broken. I felt dangerous. My silence had become fire. I whispered to the empty room. No more shadows. No more waiting. I faced her. Calm, silent. She saw the note in my hand. Her confident smile faltered. You were supposed to be my friend, she whispered. And you were supposed to see me, I said softly. She reached for my arm, but I pulled back. Mara's hand squeezed mine. That night, I said quietly, I swore I'd never be your shadow again. Mara nodded, fiery. I've got your back. I didn't want her love anymore. I wanted her regret. That night, I felt a spark I hadn't felt in months. Mara became my anchor. I studied harder, networked, made connections. People saw me for me, not as Alara's accessory. Damien sneered, tried to mock me. Words slid off like rain. Alara. She faltered. Her grades slipped, her laughter dimmed. Her eyes followed me like shadows. I realized she had lost her convenience. She was losing herself. For the first time, I felt alive, strong, unbound. I wasn't her shadow. I was myself. Rumors spread. Damien cheated. Alara stood in the courtyard, tears streaming. The same place where she once flaunted her love. Her eyes locked on mine. My heart wrenched. I almost stepped forward. Almost. Mara's hand on my arm stopped me. She chose this. Her voice trembled, lips quivering, calling my name. I didn't move. The boy who waited, who loved, who saved her. He was gone. I was the silence she created. She tried again, desperate, broken. I didn't answer. Silence was my revenge. Weeks later, the news hit. Business rising star to wed. My name bold across the page. Alara had thought I'd sulk. Wait. Come crawling back. But I had walked away. The boy who waited on her call was gone. I was free. Not her shadow, not her convenience. I was someone's future, and I was alive.